Hey everybody, Derek here for the weekly news recap for the 11th to the 17th of July 2022. Is everything working? Is the microphone on? Yes it is. Okay, good. We will jump straight in. So this week, should have started with the story. Anyway, this week, Unity did some shit and pissed off a lot of their developers and a lot of people who use Unity and so on. So what started it all off? It was this merger. IronSource to merge with Unity. IronSource CEO, Tomer Barzeev, will join Unity's board of directors and executive leadership team, so he got himself a board of directors position as well. IronSource is a platform that enables developers to monetize their apps and shift them into businesses. Yay, more monetization shit in video games. Now that's not necessarily the big issue with this merger, but it's a pretty bad one anyway. The combination of Unity and IronSource better supports creators of all sizes by giving them all the tools they need to create and grow successful apps in gaming and other consumer-facing verticals like e-commerce. Yay, consumer-facing verticals. That's what I want out of my video games. That's what I want to hear. Definitely all about the consumer-facing verticals like e-commerce. Anyway, that was the announcement that Unity are merging with IronSource, although more specifically Unity have bought IronSource is probably the more correct way to look at it. Why is this a problem? Well, let's look at IronSource for one. So IronSource do not have a great history in software development and in software distribution, which is what they are purporting to be doing here by, helping people do better with consumer-facing e-verticals. IronSource, one of its earliest software pieces, was labeled a malware provider by various developers via social media. So this was on the news of the IronSource and Unity merger. People were like, cool, we're merging with a malware distributor. Awesome, that's a great idea. The spark complaint stemming from an incident where IronSource's very first product was classified as malware. InstallCore was the name of it. It was an installation program for internet-based applications launched in 2010, but within a few years it had been blocked by software such as Malwarebytes and Microsoft Windows Defender for installing unwanted programs. The program was later discontinued, but developers have shared their frustration of Unity bringing a company associated with malware into the fold. So InstallCore was basically a platform for distributing other pieces of software. So people could go on it, build up their own software, and use that to distribute it to other people to also use it for themselves. It was sort of like a developer's kind of toolkit kind of thing, where you could say, hey, I need to make this thing, but I don't want to. Has anybody else made it already? Oh, you have? Cool. Send me that. The issue was that that's not all they sent. The issue with that is that they would also send malware, ad tech, potentially unwanted programs is what they're called, PUPs, or potentially unwanted applications, PUAs. Pickup artists also potentially unwanted applications. Yep, same thing. That's why they share acronym. Acronyms when you can give it a name, right? Like NASA is an acronym. It turns into a word item. Whatever. We're getting off topic. So it was basically users of InstallCore could make their own applications and distributed it through InstallCore. So the issue, of course, would be that while the software itself is not known for malware necessarily, it was used to distribute it quite a lot, like very often. In the same way, like torrents, like a torrent software or a peer-to-peer software may not necessarily have malware in it, but it certainly is a distribution vector for it. Arguably, you could say the internet is a distribution vector for it, and so on. The real issue, though, of course, is that IronSource did nothing about it. They eventually just stopped supporting it, mostly because almost every antivirus and malware, anti-malware service were just not allowing the software to do anything. So there's like, okay, well, I guess we run out of road on this. But yeah, for their part, they've said that the software that was involved in making InstallCore was spun off from the company a number of years ago and is no longer involved in IronSource. But yeah, like the taint is still there. Plus, you guys, you're involved in the free-to-play monetization shit. You're not exactly clean on these other things. Now, the other issue with the merger, of course, is that Unity fired a bunch of people a while ago. citing lack of resources to pay them, and then they turn around and buy another company, and it's like, okay, I see, all right, fuck you very much, I guess. So just 2 weeks after a wide round of layoffs rocked the company, Unity somehow has money to buy IronSource. Okay. Unity, so previously, Unity have bought Weta Digital, the guys behind Lord of the Rings CG stuff, and they also bought Parsec, which are a game streaming platform, possibly to add game streaming into Unity's pipeline. But anyway, last month, Unity laid off 4% of its workforce, totaling hundreds of staffers across departments. Following the layoffs, employees questioned and expressed frustration about the company's priorities. So this is from anonymous Slack channel. My issue is not with those companies or any staff in those companies, specifically. My issue is having the gall to pretend that we are a company with values like we are in it together when staff can be fucking thrown aside. Yeah, I think if anything, the last few years have really laid bare the whole in it together thing as a massive, massive lie. But anyway, it's unclear what protections, if any, are in place to prevent IronSource's workforce from facing a similar fate. That being, we've bought you now, but we're also just going to fire most of the workforce and just keep the name, more or less. IronSource represents a shift in Unity strategy, seeming to show a company that's prioritizing profits over product. Yeah, not surprising, because it's very much shifted into the free-to-play horrible shit mobile games that have completely overwhelmed games on mobile platforms. The general mood at the company is that the whole company at this point has been horrifically mismanaged. Have execs ever discussed their exorbitant pay scale and potential reductions to save the workforce? I'm guessing that yes, they did, but dismissed it as they wanted that new beach house in Malibu. So yeah, people are understandably pissed off that rather than taking a pay cut in management because management has caused these problems, they've instead fired people who had no responsibility in this kind of thing, and then used the money that they gained from that not to improve Unity but to buy a malware provider. I think it's understandable that people are pissed off about that. But not to be outdone, the management at Unity decided to say something really fucking stupid. So Unity's boss says devs who don't plan monetization earlier are fucking idiots. This is from John Riccatello from an interview with PocketGamer.biz. Now we'll get on to John in a minute because he's some idiot. Anyway, Unity CEO John Riccatello has called developers who don't plan their monetization strategies early during development fucking idiots. The suggestion that monetization should be implemented earlier in the creative process has seen pushback from some developers, but Riccatello claimed there isn't a developer on the planet who wouldn't want to know how they could tweak their games to make them more successful. John, there I can introduce you to so many who do not give a shit. They want to make a good game. They don't care that the player stayed an extra 5 minutes and spent an extra 99 cents. They don't care. They just want to make the game good. It's an artistic medium. It's about the art of it. Obviously, he is talking mostly about mobile games and the mobile game churn, the compulsion loop, I think he calls it at some point, which is a horrible term for like fishing for whales and dolphins, more or less. He likens the people who are against the monetization things as like old style of thinking and so on. Ferrari and some of the other high-end car manufacturers still use clay and carving knives. It's a very small portion of the gaming industry that works that way. No, it isn't. And some of these people are my favorite people in the world to fight with. They're the most beautiful and pure, brilliant people. They're also some of the biggest fucking idiots. So yeah. Oh no, you didn't prioritize milking as much money out of your product as possible. It's clearly looking at it from a product standpoint and not a artistic piece. You know, can you imagine like if you applied this to any other medium like music, if you had left it up to the money men for new music, all music would sound pretty much the exact same. I'd argue now that pop music does sound pretty much the exact same, and I would say there's your proof, more or less. But you could say that about books. You know, do all books read the exact same now? Are all TV shows the exact same? Are all films the exact same thing? Lowest common denominator. That's what he's advocating for here. Minimum viable product. And all that kind of thing. It's basically, if it left up to them, we would have no culture whatsoever. Everything would just be a homogenized slurry for us to throw money at. I think we can agree we don't want that, right? That's not what we want out of our art. We'd like our art to actually be meaningful and not just turned out for another ivory back scratcher for these kind of people. But anyway, the rest of that interview is much the same, of him saying, no, money, give me more money. So who is this guy, and why should we completely dismiss everything he says? Well, who's John Riccitiello? So probably people in the games who follow gaming news and so on probably know him better as CEO of EA when the company absolutely tanked. It was during the transition from, or not the transition, but like when mobile gaming became very popular. He was CEO, and he is mostly responsible for why mobile gaming is the way it is. That monetization stuff, that fishing for whales stuff, that he oversaw EA's push into that market, into turning mobile games into Farmville, into those web procrastination games, and that they just infected the whole mobile platform. It's still extremely disappointing that mobile gaming has gone this route. Like, we could have had Super Mario on the go kind of stuff. We could have had like really small, bespoke, great video games for a price, and that's it. But now we have slot machines and advertising vectors and stuff like that, and it's just shit. Like, it could have been so good, and it's just not. But anyway, early career, he worked for Clorox and PepsiCo. Wow, he worked for an actual toxic company. And also Clorox. Häagen-Dazs as well. Wilson Sporting Goods, I don't know who they are. McGregor Golf, don't know who they are. Srsly Bakery, probably an American company, I have no idea. Electronic Arts as president and chief and CEO for a while, and to be fair, he did get The Sims up and going. Like, he was like, yeah, we should give Will Wright whatever he wants, pretty much. So we did get The Sims up and going. Now, of course, EA have since destroyed The Sims, more or less, but whatever. He fucked off for a bit there to form a private equity firm, if you weren't, up to him just really only having any interest in money and just money, and that's it. With Roger McNamee, who I don't know, and Bono, of all people. So he has the pox now, I guess. How that goes. Came back as CEO for EA in 2007 to 2013 and was forced to resign. The board of directors were like, you're fired, basically, but so that you can get another CEO position, we're just going to ask you to resign instead. But yeah, EA's worth plummeted during that time. There were a lot of missteps, and the mobile gaming market and so on. Not great. But whatever. He disappeared for a while there, then ended up on Unity, and now he's pushing the same shit. Anyway, ignore him, is what I'm saying. He's not in the right frame of mind for video games in general. But it's not great news for Unity and people looking at Unity as a viable video game engine to build games in. There's already been enough annoyance at Unity from a developer standpoint, in that it is a very good service to prototype games. You can make like a very simple game very quickly, a proof of concept game very quickly, and so on. It's very good for that kind of thing. But finishing a game on it, like finishing the development of a game on Unity, is a massive pain in the ass, is what I've gathered from developer platforms. And now, to be fair, people don't, come out and give glowing reviews of things typically. Like, it's very rare for you to get like 5 stars, this is amazing, so good. People like to complain rather than praise. So you do have to take a certain amount of, you do have to keep that in mind. But there are common refrains that trying to track performance of your game is very difficult through Unity, trying to share code between people. Like it's SVN, it's code sharing on Unity, huge nightmare. And just getting performance tracking metrics and so on for it is very, very difficult. So all of that, you know, the extra 3 months we need to polish the game kind of thing, like the important part really is what makes the game fun to play. It's very difficult in Unity. You can more or less like double that, triple that. It's going to take that long just because the tools aren't the best for it. And there's even there's a pretty good story of Unity's own developers trying to do that, trying to like go through the whole process of, we'll make a game, we won't just stop at the prototype stage, we'll actually finish it, polish it, and so on, get it all the way through the distribution pipeline so we can see where the bottlenecks are, where people are having problems, and so on. And it was abandoned when it got to that part, the polish bit, the last 20% sweat bit. And they said, no, we have learned everything we need to know now, and we're going to stop at this point because we don't like doing it. They didn't say that part. But yeah, I think it just shows that Unity are prioritizing the wrong thing. Rather than making their tools better, they're deciding to just push money vectors at their developers, which isn't great. Anyway, moving on. So, updates outside of the whole Unity bullshit. Bayonetta 3 finally has a release date. It's coming out on the 28th of October of this year. So it will be on the channel at some point if we get through Bayonetta 1 and 2. So the trailer accompanying it is fairly lengthy, shows off a lot of gameplay of Bayonetta, who may or may not be Bayonetta. It's hard to tell. It may just have the name and actually be a different person. Not sure. That is my feeling just from playing Bayonetta 1. And the hairstyle is too like another character's hairstyle for it to not be them, so I don't know. I guess we'll see. So showing off a bit more of this, some new enemy types. Rodan has a hat now, and all that kind of thing. Some returning characters, so I guess I know they don't die in the other two games. Bayonetta has a shape-changing, like a henshin mode, I guess now. I don't think she had this in 2. To be fair, I haven't played 2, but I'm not sure. It appears the different weapons change whatever that henshin is. There is also Phantom. We go back. Phantom from Devil May Cry 1. It's not the exact design, but the voice is almost identical to make me think that it's him. it must be. And then there's also a new character. Where are they? Here. Viola, who is very much female Nero from Devil May Cry. Like it's almost like it was on purpose. Who plays a bit more like Nero, really, to be honest. But yeah, that will be interesting. 2 different characters to play as. It's a question now, is it a separate campaign like Devil May Cry 5, or do you swap between them as the story goes on, like Devil May Cry 4? Even though that's from a different developer and a different company, the games are very, very similar. And she has such prominence in the trailer to make it suggest that, you will be swapping between the characters, probably, is my guess. Anyway, 28th of October for Bayonetta 3. But in addition to that, Platinum Games also released a new thing, because you're always thinking, and definitely going through Bayonetta now on the channel. We are playing it on the channel, by the way, if you want to check that out. Going through Bayonetta right now, it's like, how did Nintendo let this through? Because it is so sexual. It's very in your face about it. Like, it is. You make the joke about, like, here is the director's barely concealed fetish, and it's not concealed at all. It's like on full display. But yeah, they have added something to make it more palatable, I guess, for the Switch and for more modern prudish sensibilities these days. Is naive angel mode. Basically, there is a toggle in the game where you can put more clothes on Bayonetta, basically. And it's not just for these. There's like some of her transformations show a bit more skin than perhaps some people would like. Prudish, foolish people. But here we are. So anyway, there's that. They said they put this out separately. It's not actually in the trailer. There's a separate Twitter thread of Platinum going, here's naive angel mode. If you want to play it like family room mode, I guess is the idea behind it. But even without like skin, right? There's still still a lot of sexual stuff in at least the original Bayonetta. There's a lot of BDSM stuff. There's a lot of close-ups on bums and boobs and so on. So how much this will really change, I don't know. I guess maybe someone just glancing at it as they walk past, I guess it'll be a difference there. But otherwise, anyway, it's there. It's an excuse, I guess. It would be nice if other game developers could do this kind of thing. Now, not like a full, like, naive angel mode for every game kind of thing, because Bayonetta in particular, the character is known for their, like, sexual energy or the sexuality or whatever way you want to play it, sensuality. Whereas not every other game is like that, you know, it's just sort of incidental. It's just the character designer's style or what have you. But a lot of games do get censored, for want of a better word, or to be made more palatable to Western markets. Typically, it's coming from Japanese developers over here, or sometimes European developers over to the US, and then as a roundabout way, it somehow makes its way back to England and Ireland as the censored version instead of the mainland European version, but whatever. It's just prudes. It's just prudes, but whatever. Elsewhere, the Diofield was shown off at State of Play a good while ago in March, but it now has a release date and a new trailer. So it's coming out the 22nd of September, and there will be a demo at the middle of August at some point. So a refresher on the Diofield Chronicle. Diofield Chronicle. It looked like it was going to be Final Fantasy Tactics, like in its trailer before the title of the game was actually revealed. It felt like, hey, is this Final Fantasy Tactics? It looks like Final Fantasy Tactics. And it's not. It's not. It looks like it, but it's not. Final Fantasy Tactics obviously being like a grid-based kind of strategy RPG, whereas this feels like it is more not free roaming exactly. It's not grid-based. Like you can move in like increments and stuff like that. It's a hard way to explain it. Just think of it as like small scale RTS, like skirmishes kind of thing. But yeah, looks interesting. I wouldn't have typically been into this kind of game, usually. Like way before I started playing D&D, I was not into grid-based strategy RPG kind of stuff. And since playing it, I'm much more interested in it because it just feels like that, the kind of tabletop war game stuff. Like D&D isn't necessarily a war game, but you can play it like that. You can play it as a grid-based kind of thing, which I do enjoy. Not everybody does, but I like it. I like both styles, to be honest. I just like D&D. But having played games like it, and then also being on the other side of it as the DM, definitely gives me more of an appreciation for these kind of strategy RPGs. So yeah, I'll be looking forward to giving this a try. Also, the developers behind Warframe had a big reveal for a lot of their upcoming things, and then they also just dropped a trailer for a brand new game. The developers behind Warframe have been working on Warframe for, I don't know how many years, a very, very long time. So I think, yeah, it is about time that they got a new game. And with that being said, it doesn't feel like it's too new. It does feel like it's Warframe, but fantasy time, but okay. This trailer is entirely CG. There's no gameplay or anything like that. It's just setting up the world, which looks interesting. I think it's got a kind of Viking, like medieval futuristic thing going on. You are killed by the looks of things and then resurrected. You have some connection with nature. Like these animals are all very helpful towards you. Some of them are even used in combat later on. And the whole trailer itself, bums. Apologies for bums, prudes. Helps you get resurrected. You have some kind of prosthesis and a mask, surgical gauze around your face as well. And then the trailer ends with a combat section that's showing off probably some of the abilities in the game. You're here to rescue a giant wolf who may or may not be Fenrir from Norse mythology, etc., etc. Not a whole lot to say about, or we don't know a whole lot about the game itself or how it will play. Like, will it just be Warframe, but fantasy instead of future? Or fantasy instead of sci-fi, rather? When are we going to be able to know about that? Will we see a demo soon? Will we see gameplay? I don't know. This is more just a drop. Hey, we're working on something new. Get hype for it. with even less news. Just there's gonna be a new single-player Aliens game at some point. That's it. That's the news, and we got this screenshot. That's it. That's all we got. A new single-player action horror game based on the Alien franchise, coming from Servios, who are the people behind Creed Rise to Glory, The Walking Dead Onslaught, and Puzzle Bobble 3D Vacation Odyssey. They are all VR games, so it's likely that this will also be a VR game. However, it is being slated for consoles that don't have VR. So the chances are there will be a flat version of it as well, as a non-VR version. But that's it, that's all we know. It'll feature an original storyline set somewhere between the events of Alien and Aliens, with players taking on the role of a battle-hardened veteran with a vendetta against the Xenomorphs. So not so much Alien Isolation. Probably leaning a bit more in Aliens, the Space Marine type, rather than the Alien Haunted House type. Yeah, cool. I mean, don't know too much more about it, but a new single-player Aliens game? Sure. Yeah. Gimme. I'll play it. Tell me a bit more about it, though. Okay, in less good news, Her Story and Telling Lies devs investigative Hollywood horror Immortality Delayed into August. So the new game from Sam Barlow, that's what it is. The guy behind Her Story and Telling Lies. The game was meant to come out in the end of this month, but has now been pushed to the end of next month. So it'll be pushed out to the 30th of August so he can polish it. Ensure the experience is as polished as possible. And yeah, sure, there's plenty of games to play. Well, not right now, but like in a week. Then going forward until like September, loads of games to play. So sure, take your time with it, not an issue. This may or may not make it onto the channel, Immortality, just because it is not on PlayStation or Switch. It's Xbox and PC only for now, and I do not have a particularly powerful PC for both streaming and playing games at the same time, and I don't have an Xbox, so I don't know. But Her Story is also on PC, and Telling Lies is on PlayStation, and they're both very interesting? I've invented a new word. Interesting detective games. They are full motion video games that are relayed to the player out of order. So you are given like this big archive of video footage, and you're given a starting point, like here's the first video, and a search term and a search field. And you use words that are said in the videos, in the video footage, to find more videos relating to it, and so on. And with that, you eventually piece together what the fuck is happening in the story. The interesting thing for Immortality is that they seem to be changing how you go about it. Instead of just having search terms like words or letters and so on, you're actually using like visual references, like a pose somebody has made. Like, do they make that pose anywhere else? Does this item in the scene, does that appear anywhere else in any other video footage, and so on? So this will be very interesting, but I imagine it's a lot more difficult than what they did with Her Story and Telling Lies. But yeah, it's been delayed, so it was going to be end of this month. It's now end of next month instead. Okay, and kind of out of nowhere on PlayStation, Sony have announced PlayStation Stars, which is going to be not a Resident Evil thing, which would have been really cool. No, it is instead a reward loyalty program. So Nintendo already have something similar. Microsoft did have one for a while. I'm not sure if they're still doing it, but Sony are now deciding to. There must be a retention problem in video games in general right now, because a lot of companies have been doing this rewards program stuff. PlayStation Stars will be a loyalty program launching later this year. Players will be able to get rewards by either just playing any game to receive a reward. So there'll be some bespoke campaigns for like tournaments, earning very specific trophies within a set amount of time, or be the first player to platinum a blockbuster title in your local time zone, which seems stupid. Because this will absolutely favor the developer of the game itself. Is almost certainly going to get the platinum first, because they have to check it's actually possible, for pure testing purposes. And then there's Game Press, who get the game way ahead of everybody else. People who write guides, definitely gonna get that platinum first. And then streamers, influencers, community managers, sort of thing, who will also get the game way ahead of everybody else. So that seems like a dumb one to put in, because it's absolutely not going to be the typical person who get the typical gamer who could possibly be the first person to platinum a blockbuster title in their local time zone, unless they live in space or something. Other things, earn loyalty points. Points can be redeemed in a catalog that may include PSN wallet funds, may include, not will, may, and select PlayStation Store products. Does that mean physical stuff, like t-shirts, and mugs, and hoodies, and that kind of thing? Or does it mean games? Access to DLC, maybe. Get this trophy in an X amount of time and we'll give you the DLC for the game as a reward, something like that. I don't know, because they haven't said. It's going to be released later this year, but that's kind of the gist of it. Also, as part of PlayStation Stars, we are unveiling a new type of reward called a digital collectible. Now, is this setting off massive alarm bells in your head that, oh fuck, is this are these fucking NFTs? Collectibles are as diverse as our portfolio of products and franchises. They are digital representations of things that PlayStation fans enjoy, like housing and money and sex, and including figurines of beloved and iconic characters from games and other forms of entertainment, yada 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 yada. This sounds a lot like the stuff you would get in PlayStation Home. So anyone who doesn't remember, PlayStation Home was a community social space on the PlayStation 3. Came bundled with it, so everyone who owned a PS3 had access to PlayStation Home, and it's kind of like a Second Life kind of thing. You would make an avatar, you'd have like an apartment complex, you could walk around and talk to other people in PlayStation Home and just generally hang out. There wasn't necessarily something to do, there was no actual game associated with it. You would just go to different worlds and explorations. Think of it also like VR chat is something similar, only it's in VR, but it's the same kind of idea. You just sort of hang out with people. You can dress up your avatar in, different clothes. You could buy them as like skins in PlayStation Home and so on. But another thing that did come with it is that certain PlayStation games, typically it was only the first party ones, but not always, that when you either bought the game or finished the game or got certain trophies in games and so on, you would also get PlayStation Home items to go along with it. Like you would get a little thing to put on your wall in PlayStation Home in your apartment, or you would get clothes, skins for your character, a hat, that kind of thing. That's what this sounds like to me. It sounds like those kind of collectibles, only I guess rather than this being in a kind of virtual 3D world, this will like sit in another tab on your profile to say, here are my collectibles kind of thing. That's not as fun. Honestly, bring back PlayStation Home. I doubt they will, since it didn't do great. I think there's a better space for it now than at the time they released it. When they released it, it was very niche. Not everyone had an internet connection that could really handle having that many people talking and not have it lag out and so on. Now you could probably do it much easier. I remember you could skin your apartment as well. Like some games had full-on new apartments that you could walk around in. Like Final Fantasy 13 had like a full apartment you could walk around in, and it was cool. Like it was really cool. Oh well, it's dead now. No more of that. But yeah, are these things NFTs? Because they sure fucking sound like it. But no, they're not. It's definitely not NFTs. Grace Chen, Vice President of Network Advertising, Loyalty and Licensed Merchandise, that's a lot of hats, for Sony, telling the Washington Post, definitely not. You can't trade them or sell them. It is not leveraging any blockchain technologies, and they are definitely not NFTs. Okay, so straight up, they're not. That's not what they are. Okay, good. Because I was really worried. Digital collectibles, no! Okay, anyway. Moving on from our updates. So that's some stuff about games and services coming in the future, but what can you play right now? So first up is Time on Frog Island, because frogs are really in right now with indie devs. So Time on Frog Island is a short hike and Animal Crossing. right? It's that kind of thing. You are marooned on Frog Island. Ostensibly, you just need to get materials together so that you can fix your boat and get off Frog Island. But really, you're just hanging around with the frogs and having fun, talking to them, doing chores for them, fixing up your camp and that kind of thing. It's got a lot more physicality and puzzle elements to it, which is why I said it's a bit more short hike than it is Animal Crossing. It's also got that camera angle as well. But yeah, it's just a fun, chill game that, yes, there is an actual thing you need to do, which is fix your boat, but also I imagine you're just going to be spending a lot of time just hanging out with the frogs and having fun and so on. That's time on Frog Island. It's on everything, I think. PowerWash Simulator is finally out of early access. Went into early access a year ago, and it is now out of early access. So it is now available on Windows, PC, and Xbox, and Game Pass. I think it's exclusively to those. PowerWash Simulator is exactly what you think it is. Power washing. That's it. That's all you do. It's a very zen game. You know, it's just very you think of the word. It's just super chill and relaxing type of game. You know, it's definitely something you could just have a chill out time with, just cleaning things, the joy of cleaning things, I guess, without having to actually clean them and knowing for definite that they'll stay clean. It's always nice, I guess. But yeah, that's PowerWash Simulator. It's out now, fully done, 1.0 or 1.0 point whatever number of patches they might have put together. Cool. And then lastly is Escape Academy, which was shown off briefly in some of the indie showcases in the last couple of weeks. But Escape Academy is basically what if escape rooms, but lots of escape rooms, and like a school that is itself a giant escape room. What if that? So yeah, it's a lot of puzzles essentially, but it's in the escape room sense, where you're dropped in an area with loads of shit to interact with and just be like, okay, cool, what do I do next? What does this open? Does this do a thing? How many things do I need to do to fix that? And so on. Wrapped in the idea that they are teaching you how to do escape rooms, I guess, is the idea. I think is the general gist of the game story, if you have one. But really, it's just, here's an escape room, do it. Here's another escape room, do that. Here's another escape room, do that, etc. Looks fun. It's lots of different types of puzzles. You know, it's not all like a lot of puzzle games. You'll just have it's the same. It's pretty much the same puzzle, and it's just variations on it. Whereas this Escape Room Academy seems like there's lots and lots of puzzles. They're all a little different, so that'll be fun. Okay, unfortunately, the fun is over, and it is now time to talk about the worst part of video games, video game industry. So, continuing on from the Lollipop Chainsaw stuff, and I'm gonna keep on about this because I like the game and I kind of want to know absolutely everything about it, particularly the what's happening with the remake/remaster thing. So, Lollipop Chainsaw Remake will not update story or aesthetics, producer says. We do not wish to change Juliet's design, and the assumption that we want to is baseless. Okay, so this is a quote from Yasuda. The mention of how the game will have a more realistic look in the previous announcement was meant to refer to how we will make use of the advanced rendering technology available in current game consoles. So this is mostly to do with like texturing, lighting, ambient occlusion, subspace scattering, that kind of stuff, you know. That just all by itself will make the game look more realistic, whether you like it or not, kind of. It's just higher fidelity is just going to have that effect on the art style. I don't think it will drastically change the art style itself, but I think it will just look crisper, I think is what they're going for. We do not wish to change Juliet's design, and the assumption that we want to is baseless. We were the ones who created Juliet's model data, and after great trial and error 10 years ago, and feel attached to her more than anyone else. So they're like, no, we made this. Like, we want to keep it exactly the way it was. We're just moving it to another platform. We learned after the announcement of Lollipop Chainsaw Remake that many fans are worried about censorship in the game, because a growing issue these days. Because I don't know. As I said, prudes seem to be in charge right now. We have not yet discussed the issue with the platform holders yet, and thus cannot say anything about the topic, but what we can say is that we intend to negotiate with the platform holders to make it so that the game can be as close to the original version as possible, which is to say, if there is any censorship that comes out, it wasn't us. You know, it's a nice... we wash our hands of this problem, and if it is a problem, take it up with Sony, or Nintendo, or Microsoft, or whoever it happens to be. Probably Sony, because they're usually the problem. Nintendo already have a track record on this kind of thing, and they already have a family-friendly persona, so you're kind of, like, not surprising, even though Bayonetta is there and they just don't talk about it, but whatever. Even though there's, like, borderline hentai games on their eShop, but they just don't talk about it. Anyway, whereas Sony have been really going on the censorship beat, basically, and for this particular kind of thing, not for violence or anything like that, just for cleavage. That's it. Like that's the big problem. Not I literally just crushed this guy's head with my foot. That's okay. Anyway, it seems like the developers of the remake are only calling it a remake because they kind of have to, because they don't have a way to get the original game onto it, but what they're really doing is a remaster in all but name. That's pretty much what they're going for. Bootleg Nintendo soundtracks are being sold for big money on eBay. Now, this is not really necessarily... Okay, so this article is about the bootleg counterfeit soundtracks being sold on eBay for lots of money. But the thing I wanted to point out is that this wouldn't be a problem if Nintendo weren't so shit about soundtracks and about letting their music come out, you know, like letting people actually listen to their music. So part of the reason for these large prices is Nintendo's continued apparent reluctance to make official soundtracks of its game music widely available, either physically or digitally. They just don't do it. They do not make soundtracks for their games. Anytime somebody tries to upload the music, because they've ripped it out of the game itself and put it up on YouTube, Nintendo are right in there to be like, no, stop. How the fuck am I supposed to listen to the music, Nintendo? I don't have the game anymore. I just want the music. Japan is the only market where physical video game soundtracks are commonplace, forcing the rest of the world to import them at often exorbitant prices. Yep, I've had to do that. Some CDs are really fucking expensive. Japan does have, like, actual sections in their, like, music shops for video game soundtracks. Like, and it is big. Like, they're big sections. I remember going there going, holy shit, why don't we have this everywhere else? And if you do have to import them, it's very, very expensive. Meanwhile, the company has been routinely issuing copyright strikes to YouTubers who share their music online, and the overriding response from those affected is that there's no official way to actually acquire it. So, like, it's not piracy because you aren't giving us a way to actually buy the music. So fuck you. Basically, is the consumer standpoint from that. Obviously, they own the copyright, so they can do whatever they want with it. It is within their rights to it, but you can't be surprised when people try to circumvent it, when you aren't giving them a way to do it. Nintendo's fierce protection of its IP is actually having a counterintuitive effect, as it's worsening the issues of accessibility and aiding music piracy rather than preventing it. Correct. People don't have a official way to get something, and they still want it. They'll find a way to get it. Right? This is when you say, drugs are illegal, so no one will do drugs? No. They'll still do it. They'll still find a way to do it. The Prohibition era, alcohol is now illegal, so nobody gets to drink anymore. No, they'll still do it. They'll still do it, and this is how the mob gets, you know, turned up, and people getting blown up over hooch. This is sex work as well. It's the same deal. Prostitution and brothels and things like that. You push it all underground. It still happens. People want it. People want sex. People want drugs. People want alcohol. People want video game soundtracks. We'll lump them all in together. And they'll find a way to get them. Jurassic Park, life finds a way. And, you know, you can make money off this, or you can waste money trying to stop it happening. Which one would you pick? Okay. Fall Guys developer Mediatonic apologizes for a bug that auto-purchases premium items. So this is a bug that was spending people's money. That's not a good bug, guys. Mediatonic has apologized for a bug that was causing players to make accidental premium purchases. items had been auto-purchased when previewing them in Fall Guys in-game store. So the bug is you preview them and somehow that was also buying them, which isn't great. Other issues, show books are going mysteriously missing, which is a type of currency. Hidden key bindings are triggering purchases. That one is very worrying. It really shouldn't be lumped in with the other issues. That's a big issue. That there is some hidden key binding that you can't change is somehow making it so that you buy things. That's not good. Why is that even in there? How did it even get in there? Is it a debug thing? Like, the dev just didn't want to have to go through the process of using the UI? He could just press the fucking tilde button and he would buy something? Like, is that all that is? It sounds like that's what it is, to be honest. Lots of players finding they have less currency now for some reason, and so on. Initially, the game's support team was unwilling to make refunds. When reached out about it, they said, "You have stated that this is a bugged purchase and a known issue. Neither of these things is the case." It turns out it was actually the case. Allegedly told one complainant, "This is not a known issue because it is not an issue." Yes, it is. Items cannot be bought automatically by the system, turns out. Yes, it can. They always require input from the player, turns out. No, that's not actually the case. But yeah, they said, okay, my bad. What is happening in the game is not intended and we are actively fixing it. So it turns out that was all bullshit. And yeah, it was in fact a known issue. The customer service response was also not acceptable, and we will offer a make good for all affected. So yeah, you'll get some currency. I think you'll get any refund requests will be honored for that period of time, and everybody gets a skin or something like that. But yeah, not great that their initial response was "fuck you." Only to then go, "Oh wait, no, maybe that is maybe that isn't. Maybe we fucked up. Okay, well, shit." Bugs are bugs. They get in. It's not great, particularly when it affects money in particular. Sure. Obviously not good. But, you know, bugs happen. It happens. They're made by people. Games are developed by people. People are fallible. People make mistakes. Bugs get into software. It happens. It's not intended, but that response was particularly combative and not great. But yeah, hidden key bindings triggering purchases, you should really look into that one, guys. That's a bad one. You should get that fixed. Okay, and then some kind of roundup for acquisition stuff. So Bungie and Haven, actually, later on, it's mentioned in the article, have both completed the acquisition deal. So it's gone through. They made mention of it back in the beginning of this year that Sony were going to buy Bungie, developers of Destiny, and Haven Studios, which is a new studio founded by Jade Raymond, formerly of Assassin's Creed and formerly of Google Stadia. So both of those have gone through now, so they're complete. There's now officially Bungie belongs to PlayStation, and officially Haven Studios, whatever they decide to make, officially belongs to PlayStation. The agreement to acquire Bungie has closed, so now we can officially say welcome to the PlayStation family, and then presumably they punch them in the face. Our acquisition of Bungie also represents a major step forward in becoming more multi-platform. So this is a quote from earlier in the year when they were talking about the initial merger, is that they weren't buying Bungie for Destiny. In fact, I don't think they have any intention of making it exclusive. What they bought Bungie for was their knowledge of live services. Now, I would question that because Destiny is not a good model for a live service. Because have you tried to bring on a new player into Destiny recently? Someone who's never played the game before, doesn't have an account, didn't start when Destiny started, and so on. You have no idea what's going on because most of the story is gone now. They don't keep it around. They sunset or vault these things, so you can't actually play the beginning of the story anymore in Destiny, which is really bad. It's really bad for making people care about the game at all. Like, why am I doing any of this? Oh, that's because this happened in that part of the story. How am I supposed to know that? Compare that with a better, much better MMO live service, Final Fantasy XIV, who has somehow managed to keep all their story going with no issue, with more players. What's the problem, Bungie? Why couldn't you do it? Warcraft, same. Now, granted, they're MMOs, and Destiny isn't exactly an MMO, but those are still some really, really big pieces of software with a shit ton of content, and somehow they're able to keep that going. What's the deal here? Also, as I said, Haven Studios, it's in there somewhere. Haven Studios there. That was also completed. Haven Studios don't have a game out yet, but they have been working on it for a while. Jade Raymond and a bunch of veterans of other pretty big video game series have been working on a live service game that will probably be multi-platform, and it was leveraging some technology from Stadia or some learnings from Stadia. I think Jade Raymond was saying like her time at Stadia was really useful for like cloud stuff, which is a live service kind of game. So I guess we'll see. This again is a push from Sony to go more multi-platform, so that PlayStation as a brand is no longer just associated with the hardware like the PlayStation. It just becomes a brand you see on Steam or on GOG or on Microsoft maybe someday, or on an Xbox or whatever that becomes, an Xbox box. Okay, continuing acquisitions, Nordisk Games have acquired Supermassive Games. So Supermassive, guys behind The Quarry, which we recently finished on the channel. Check that out, full LP is now up on the channel. So Nordisk Games have acquired them. Elsewhere, Nordisk Games have also bought the Just Cause developer Avalanche Studios, and have taken a sizable ownership in Mercury Steam, who most recently developed Metroid Dread, which was a very, very well received Metroid game. So they're making some waves, getting some acquisitions in. They already had a pretty sizable stake. They already had a 30% stake in Supermassive before this, and just decided, fuck it, let's just buy the whole thing. Which is actually something. It's actually something PlayStation had for a while with Haven Studios. They were helping them. I think they were financing and were going to do the publishing for their new game, and instead just went, fuck it, let's just buy the company. So they did. Yeah, that's all that story is, more or less. Supermassive for a while had been independent and had been contracting with Sony for Until Dawn, 2K for The Quarry, and I think Bandai Namco for Dark Pictures. Yeah, Bandai Namco for Dark Pictures. So they've been shipping it around, and now they have an actual daddy. They have a sugar daddy in Nordisk Games. Okay. Finish off the weekly news recap with some dumb stuff. So, developer ambushes NFTs in public talk, makes crypto sponsors real mad. So this was a story. The International Games Festival that's being held in Brazil, or was being held in Brazil last week. Developer Mark Venturelli of Chroma Squad was scheduled to give a talk called The Future of Game Design. But a few seconds in, he flipped and revealed the presentation's real title, which was Why NFTs Are a Nightmare, to a room full of applause. The talk absolutely rails on the idea of implementing NFTs as play to earn in video games. So it goes on about like the environmental cost, predatory practices, that they turn games into salt mines and sweatshops, and that creative people just want to make stuff that they can actually enjoy making. And as Luke Plunkett points out in the article, this is stuff that people who are following this field are already well aware of, but it is nice when you see the developers of the games, and it seems to be a almost universal response is that get this shit out of our video games, kind of. The talk itself is all in Portuguese because it's in Brazil, so if your Portuguese is very good, yeah, give it a look. The video is down there. Important thing to note here is that he pulled the stunt with the blessing of the event's organizers, so he didn't pull it over on the event organizers themselves. They seem to be fully on board with him slagging the shit out of NFTs. Among its main sponsors were a number of crypto, NFT, and blockchain companies, some of whom were furious. No shit. They tried to buy legitimacy through sponsoring this festival and got pissed off when it didn't work. Venturelli himself said, "These people are outsiders here, they're not important. They're just trying to buy their relevance because they have no actual influence over the future of our industry. If you just give them this space uncontested, you're just giving them exactly what they want and buying their narrative that they're relevant." That is a point that is often brought up when we say, just ignore them. Just ignore them instead of, no, deplatform them. Get them out of here. We don't want them here. Do not give them a space to talk, and so on. That is how you deal with it. He added, I've heard that the sponsors got really mad. They tried to break into the talk while I was talking, but the organization would not let them. There was never any kind of intention on the organizer's side to shut me up or anything like that, so they were fully on board with it. They were fully happy to take their money and then tell them to fuck off, which is hilarious. While the talk itself is in Portuguese, the slide deck is translated. Mostly. There's some Portuguese still slips in, but it is for the most part translated, and it is very good. And I would encourage you guys to check it out. The link is in that article down there at the bottom. And PlayStation console exclusive Stray getting limited edition cat carrier. So I only put this in, well, mostly so I could say I'm playing Stray next week. This is a quick synergy for the rest of the channel that yes, I'll be playing the game at some point next week. But also, I think this is the first collaboration I could think of for video games and pets. No, that can't be right. It's probably the first official one. I imagine there are, like, you know, Etsy dog collars for fucking Resident Evil or Monster Hunter, so I'm sure they're there. But this is the first official one I can think of. But yeah, it's just a backpack with the Stray logo on it, and it has the fishbowl thing, so your cat and or iguana and or possum can look out at the world. Hey, Doomtrain Inc. Stray, let's go. Yep, that's it. I'll be playing it on Friday. It will be fully plays Stray for a bit. But yeah, that's the first one I can think of. If you are interested and have a cat and or iguana, possum, small dog that would fit it in, it's from a company called here somewhere, Travel Cat. Check that out if you really want your pet to have the Stray backpack. I guess knock it out. I'm allergic to cats, but it still looks cool. I'm sure it'll be okay. If you're not allergic to digital cats, if you are, I might want to get that looked at by a doctor, mechanic. Not sure really. Somebody. Anyway. Anyway, that was the news for July 11th to 17th, 2022. Some absolute bullshit from Unity buying a malware company, basically. Or they might as well be, because they are just as bad for the games market, even if they do what they purport to do. Wow, that was a bad sentence. Just more monetization stuff, like... I know, like, people who do use Unity, myself included, aren't going to the platform for its monetization stuff. They're going to it so they can build fun video games. That's what they want. Like, focus on the tools. There are real glaring problems with the Unity suite when it comes to the polish bit, like the important bit of video games. It's the bit that keeps people playing it, and not for the bad reason, not for the compulsion loop shit. Allergic to digicats, need a software update. Absolutely, you need to get that patch in. Patch test for allergies, and then a patch test for digital. I don't know. There's a joke there. I can't think of it. But anyway, yeah, it's like the polish bit is what keeps people playing. You know, it reduces friction. It's you know, having the game feel like it's flowing well. Like there's no jank. Trying to get rid of the jank. Now, yeah, games with jank, absolutely, I will play them, just almost because of the jank. But definitely games that feel like they're fighting you, you'll jump off, right? And trying to get people to keep playing it, so that they don't bounce off and play something else. The bad way to do that, of course, is the monetization, dark pattern, algorithmic shit. Right, that's the bad way to do it. Like making people feel like they're like FOMO, making people feel like they have to spend an hour playing this thing every day, or they'll lose progress or something like that. Versus, there's a cool pink explosion when I punch this guy, and it makes me feel good. One of those is a bit more beneficial to humanity as a whole, and it's the pink explosion one. Anyway, yeah, and then John Dricatello just proving he's a money man. Dark side of gaming. Indeed. That's the industry. That's the video game industry. Bayonetta finally has a release date, so hopefully we will have Bayonetta 1 and 2 done by the time it comes out. That would be nice. It was also the plan for Xenoblade Chronicles, but that's not happening because we've only just finished Xenoblade Chronicles. There's still 2, and it's DLC to go, and both of those are bigger than Xenoblade Chronicles 1. And Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is out in like 2 weeks. So yeah, that's not gonna happen. But it might happen for Bayonetta. Diofield Chronicle looks like an interesting strategy RPG. I'll probably play the demo. I may not get the full game because I still haven't finished Triangle Strategy. Because there's so many games I still haven't done. SoulFrame, it is about time that, you know, the Warframe developers finally got a new game to work on. You know, do something else and not Warframe 2. Although it might turn out that it actually is Warframe 2, but still, it's nice to see that they've gotten something different. Immortality being delayed, it's fine, it's only a month. Alright. And then PlayStation Stars reward program, I don't know what to think of it because they just haven't given a whole lot of information, and what they have given feels half-assed. So hopefully they have a better explanation going forward. I am also kind of curious why they didn't release this with the PlayStation Plus rebrand. Like, it would make sense to have combined the two of those together. I don't, was one of them not ready in time, or... I don't know. I personally would have, if I were in charge of, one, we'd be doing a whole lot of things differently, but I mean, that particular thing, I would have released those two at the same time, but whatever. Anyway... That was the rest of the games industry, but what about our very small local part of the games industry, and that is the channel itself. So, nope, press that, and press that. So, channel update. So here is how we are doing right now on the channel. So green tick, game is done. Yellow dots, game is in progress, and nothing whatsoever, game hasn't been started. So, last week we finished Vampire. This week we have finished both The Quarry and Xenoblade Chronicles. So there's empty spaces all over the place for new games to drop in. We are still playing Bayonetta, and I very briefly played a bit of Neo last night because Xenoblade ended much earlier than I was expecting it to. I don't know where we're going to go with Neo because there are a lot of other games to get in the meantime, and I'd rather not break it up. So Neo might be a when I randomly have free time and I feel like streaming kind of game. So replacing Vampire, as I said, will be Batman Arkham Asylum. So that may or may not be starting this week, and we're going to find out right now because you need to flip a coin. So we have our coin again. Bayonetta is the youthful maiden, and sorry, let me full screen this. Bayonetta is the youthful maiden coin, and Batman is the dark skeleton knight. Sure, it still works. It still works as a coin. So Bayo was last, so I'm gonna put her on top. So, or is it gonna be Bayonetta, or is it gonna be Batman? Yeah, it's gonna be Bayonetta again. All right, Batman's gonna have to wait, I guess. I think it makes sense, right, that Bayonetta would finally pull up the stats, because it was like 4-1 Vampire at one point. On the other hand, it may just be that I am somehow managing to flip an exact number of rotations, because it almost always is the coin that's on top, or the side that's on top, so I don't know what that's about. Every day, just take all these games and roll the d20. That would be great, except the vast majority of these games aren't out yet. But otherwise, we would be doing that. Like, pretty much from this column over isn't out yet. Almost. Anyway. After The Quarry, we'll be looking at Deliver Us the Moon. So, can I get out of this screen? Where's Deliver Us the Moon? So, Deliver Us the Moon is a walkie-talkie simulator thing where it's set in space. You are the last hope of humanity to restart an energy station that is on the moon. So this is like post-climate apocalypse, basically. Humanity's source for power has like diminished considerably, and all effort was put into a like solar energy redistribution system on the moon. We would collect solar energy from the sun, as you might imagine, because it's solar, and send it back down to the Earth, and it pretty much powered the entirety of the planet, which seems like a massive single source of failure, guys. Why did you do that? But okay, let's go with it. But something happens, station stops transmitting energy, civilization pretty much collapses overnight, and then it takes a couple of years for them to get enough resources together to make it so that they can actually send somebody up to the moon to figure out what the fuck is going on. So that's what Deliver Us the Moon is. What happened to the space station? Why did we stop receiving power? Please turn the power back on and don't fuck over the rest of the planet doing that. So yeah, that's what we'll be doing that. And the reason we're doing that is because Deliver Us Mars, the sequel, which is over here on the mosaic, this one, is out later this year. So I'm hoping to have that done, which we should, because it's a pretty short game. Nuclear power or bust. That's what they probably should have gone with, really. But okay. So that'll be Deliver Us the Moon. And I was thinking, like, what am I gonna play after Xenoblade Chronicles? I was like, do I need a break? Should I take a break? I probably should take a break so I don't get fatigued from Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And then I thought, well, you know what? Fuck that. Let's not bother taking a break and let's just go straight into Xenoblade Chronicles 2. So that's what we're gonna do on Saturday. We're gonna move right along to Xenoblade Chronicles 2. So a reminder that Xenoblade Chronicles 1 was a Wii game, and what we were playing was the definitive edition, so it had some graphical updates and some smoothing and some extra features and so on. But Xenoblade Chronicles 2 was made specifically for the Switch, so it is a huge leap forward, both graphically, performance-wise, and so on. And they ramp up the anime-ness to like 100 as well. There's a lot of anime happening in Xenoblade 2, and you think we'll finish the whole thing in like 2 weeks, just in time for Xenoblade 3? We won't, because the game is like 200 hours long. But anyway, we're gonna give that a shot on, or not give it a shot. We're gonna start it on Saturday and see how it goes and see how much I remember it. And also, I'm not gonna do it on casual mode this time because it was way too easy. Xenoblade Chronicles 1. And some collaborative news, which I don't typically do, but Melwen, who sometimes shows up in chat, you may see her every now and then, is interested in playing Man of Medan, because it is part of PlayStation Plus and is a free game. So I suggested, hey, it's a co-op game, and I've played it before a lot. Maybe you want to co-op with it. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna play through Man of Medan on not this Monday, but the Monday after. So Man of Medan is a choose-your-own-adventure horror game from the Supermassive people, who we were just talking about, who were recently acquired by Nordisk. This was the very first Dark Pictures anthology game. It's probably the weakest one, in my opinion. Maybe. Little Hope might be a little worse. But it's still a decent fun game, though. If you remember the film Ghost Ship, and don't attribute any amount of quality to that game versus that film, but it's the similar idea. It's a haunted cargo vessel, basically, and some ghosts might be on board, and they may or may not be trying to eat you. I haven't played the game in co-op before, though, so I'm interested to see how that works. Most scenes there are at least 2 characters walking around, so I imagine you're gonna play in the dark. Yeah, pretty much in the dark, so much as this light will allow. This is quite bright, it's quite strong, and it needs to be for the green screen to work, but I guess we'll see. And how much the dark will allow in current summertime, so probably not. Anyway, yeah, so we're gonna give that a shot cooperatively. I think you play as 2 different characters, and sometimes characters within the same scene get split up, so you'll see things you wouldn't normally see in a single player version. So if you want to see my point of view, you watch my channel. If you want to see her point of view, watch her channel, and so on. Black trash bags and duct tape. Yeah, that's it. I'll go full hobo on streaming room. I was about to say it's my bedroom. No, let's not have any errors here. I stream from where I sleep. It's fine. Anyway, that will be not this Monday, but the Monday. Not tomorrow, but the Monday after, and then I guess for as long as it takes to finish it, ish. It's mostly going on whether both of our schedules line up, and I don't typically stream on Mondays because I like to have a day where I don't stream. I guess we'll see. Same. Yeah. We're all living in our bedrooms, more or less. Anyway, so that was the weekly news and channel update for this week. So coming up on the channel. Monday, I might do some more Neo. I might, thinking about it. No stream on Tuesday because we are swapping. As I said last week, Tuesday and Thursdays are now swapping because Tuesday's D&D day. So Wednesday, replacing the quarry will be Deliver Us the Moon. Thursday, more Bayonetta. So Bayonetta up to part 4 now. Friday, Stray, the cat game. The game. And Saturday, Zombie Chronicles 2. Continuing that. And then Sunday, more weekly news recap. And we're all back around again. Cool. Is this looping? It is. Well, I'm going to make it loop now. Anyway, so that's it for me for today. Thanks for dropping by, Doom Train Inc., and anyone who happens to be hanging out in the chat. I do see the numbers going up and down, and I am aware of your presence, even if I don't know your name. Still appreciate you being there. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, come over to Twitch and check it out there and jump in the chat with me and ask questions about shit. I don't know, something. And I don't know, Twitter, for no reason whatsoever, really. No one should feel obligated, but it's there if you want to, if you feel like it. I generally just like and retweet stupid shit, so yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna head off. Have a good rest of your day. Have a good rest of your day too, Doom Train Inc. And see you guys maybe later today or tomorrow for Neo. Well, otherwise, we'll see you for Deliver Us the Moon on Wednesday. Right, I'm gonna head.